Did you know that there's a Sriracha shortage? I apparently have been living under a rock because I had no idea. I just saw it at my local grocery store yesterday, and then I got home and saw this video pop up on my YouTube feed. I'm not really a news watcher per se, but this is one that kind of struck my fancy. So we're going to watch and react to this together about how did the Sriracha shortage happen. This isn't a YouTuber, this is CNBC doing this video. So let's jump in and let's see what the heck is going on with Sriracha.
Most recognizable hot sauces in America use this ranch to source its peppers. Craig Underwood supplied Sriracha's primary ingredient and helped usher a simple family.
I gotta be honest, I had no idea that, I didn't think that the majority of the peppers that would supply this sauce would have come from the United States. So that's interesting. Good to know.
Into a multi-million-dollar international brand.
Our production increased. You know, there were several years, 2 or 3 years, when it was increasing by 40 or 50% a year, to the point where in 2015 we had 2,000 acres of jalapenos, and we delivered 100 million pounds. We were delivering 50 truck and trailer loads every day for 10 weeks.
Today, Huey Fung Foods, the most popular maker of Sriracha.
Let's analyze this chart because the news likes to just do things way too quickly so that you can't really pay attention to what they're saying. So let's see. Hot sauce industry. Wow. So that Huey Fung Foods controls 6.3% of the entire market. McCormick, McElhaney, and 74.4 are other. Okay, so it's just a bunch of little tiny ones. They'll combine that 74%?
Controls a 6.3% share of the entire hot sauce market. That is the third largest of any individual company in the U.S. In 2020, the company generated nearly $131 million in revenue. But the relationship between Underwood Ranches and Huey Fung Foods ended in 2017. And over the past few years, the spicy sauce has been hard to come by. Prices have skyrocketed as third-party sellers are one of the few places the company...
Really? Like, I have never had an issue trying to buy that particular brand, those particular bottles, ever. I don't know. Maybe it's where I am and people don't use it that much, so it sits on the shelves a little longer. But, I mean, I've known people that brush their teeth with this shit. So, I've never heard this.
Can still be found. A 2-pack of 17-ounce bottles is going for as much as $70 on Amazon.
That's
supply
awesome.
chain and weather-related issues.
By awesome, I mean crazy. It's just, this is the computer parts market of 2020 all over again, but for hot sauce.
Make it hard to find Sriracha hot sauce this summer.
Now the company says they...
Let's go back and let's take a look at this guy, because you know that guy ain't eating any hot sauce. He needs to, though.
This summer.
Now the company says they still don't know when their supply will bounce back.
I visited 6 different grocery stores in New York City, and I called another 10. Hi, do you carry Huey Fung Sriracha sauce?
Oh no, it's been out of stock for like 2 months already.
I even checked local inventories on Instacart, and Huey Fung Sriracha sauce was nowhere to be found. Bottles right in front of me came from the refrigerators of members of the CNBC digital video team.
That's hilarious.
Sriracha is made of 5 main ingredients: garlic, vinegar, salt, sugar, and red jalapeno chili peppers. And without those peppers, there's no sauce. The company declined CNBC's request for an interview. But for years, the Sriracha maker has pointed to poor weather conditions affecting the quality of its peppers, and therefore creating a shortage. But the story's a lot more complicated than that.
Oh,
Craig Underwood tells me that if there hadn't been a legal battle, there would not be a jalapeno shortage for Huey Fung. We would have plenty of Sriracha. Given my past...
What a world we live in, right? Like, this is the complaint that we have as humans. And of all the things going on in the world, CNBC makes this one that, we humans are so upset that it's newsworthy that we can't get Sriracha.
Experience with him, I have no reason to doubt that.
CNBC visited Underwood Ranches, the farm who worked with the Sriracha maker for nearly 3 decades to dig into what's really happened to the beloved Rooster Bottle hot sauce.
I don't like that video B-roll that they're showing right now with just squirting at me in my face.
On July 24th, 2020, Huey Fung Foods sent an email to customers that it was experiencing inventory shortages of the chili peppers used in its products and warned of manufacturing delays. The company currently sources its peppers from farms in California, New Mexico, and Mexico.
The fact that other crops are more profitable. Jalapeno production really is very limited in California, close to this processing plant. And even here in New Mexico, where I'm based, we don't grow very many jalapenos. Most of them that are processed are actually procured from growers in Mexico.
This region has been experiencing an extreme drought for a number of years now. These peppers are typically grown under irrigation. And so when you don't have rainfall and an adequate source of water to irrigate, you end up with a failed crop.
The company released a follow-up statement in April of 2022, reiterating its supply shortages.
It may be not a hot sauce summer for Sriracha fans.
Plus, how climate change could affect the condiments at your July 4th cookout.
Huey Fong said a year ago that they were hopeful the shortage of 2022 would end in September. But here we are in the summer of 2023, and it's happening all over again.
Craig Underwood says he's been sourcing jalapeno peppers from Mexico for years, and the California drought had no impact on his ability to grow the crop.
The area where Craig was growing those peppers.
You know, come to think of it, there was a time that it was hard. Well, I don't know. There seems to be a spot in my memory where I remember trying to order our groceries and trying to order Sriracha and going with other hot sauces. But I can't remember if that's because it was simply out of stock or I just simply wanted a different hot sauce. So, but maybe it's coming back to memory that they were out of stock and that's why I went with other hot sauces.
Had one of the most stable water supplies in the entire
But this
state.
is the first I'm hearing
We had
in like a newsworthy
production
scenario.
capacity in 2015 for 100 million pounds. Today, we would still have that capacity and more. There would be no problem supplying all the peppers that Huey Fong needed if we were still producing them.
Wait, so why isn't he producing them anymore? Did I miss that part? What did she say again?
Years, and the California drought had no impact on his ability to grow the crop.
The area where Craig was growing those peppers had one of the most stable water supplies in the entire state.
We had a production capacity in 2015 for 100 million pounds. Today, we would still have that capacity and more. There would be no problem
So there's more to the
supplying
story.
all the peppers that Huey Fong needed if we were still producing them.
In 1975, David Tran began making sauces from peppers grown by his brother on a farm north of the city formerly known as Saigon,
Look at this
Vietnam.
fun editing.
Tran decorated the caps of the sauce jars with a rooster logo because it was his astrological sign. Just
love
4
it.
years
You gotta
later,
love that
Tran
logo.
left for Boston on a ship named the Huey Fung Freighter. Tran founded Huey Fung Foods in Los Angeles' Chinatown and then moved operations to a factory in Rosemead. In 2013, the company moved to a new $40 million plant in Irwindale, California.
Mandy, it's the hottest hot sauce on the market, but right now it's in hot water. Sriracha maker Huey Fong Foods will be in court this afternoon facing off against the city of Irwindale over its new plant.
Oh.
It burns your throat and your eyes a little bit. It's actually penetrating inside the homes. You walk in and you can smell the chili inside the homes as well.
But that case was
Dang.
dropped the following year in May of 2014.
Eventually, Irwindale realized, you know, we don't have a lot of industry in Irwindale, and here is this huge plant that's doing big business.
As the company resumed manufacturing and continued to amp up production.
Wait, so these people that live in this town were getting effects from all the chilies in their eyes, in their own homes, and then just out of the drop of a hat, just decided to drop the suit because it's the only business in town employing them? So are they still living with tears, or?
And it needed more of
There's
its
gotta be
most
more to
important
that.
ingredient,
More to that story.
peppers. Huey Fong Foods has built its empire producing only 3 sauces. Their chili garlic is a chunky hot sauce full of garlic flavor, while their most popular sauce, Sriracha, is a smooth paste. Their third offering is called Sambal Olek, and it has no flavors added to those pure chili peppers. We couldn't seem to get a hold of that sauce anywhere. In 1988, Craig Underwood wrote a letter to David Tran.
And I said, you know, would you like us to grow some jalapeno peppers? And he wrote back and said, yes. So we grew 50 acres for him that year.
As Sriracha became so popular, David Tran wanted more and more peppers. So Craig started clearing out all kinds of other crops that he'd been growing to make room for jalapenos. I covered agriculture for CNBC. I knew Craig for years. He was doing all kinds of things out there as he was trying to grow more and more peppers.
It was even named Bon Appetit's Ingredient of the Year in 2009.
How about that?
We were sourcing the seed, we were trialing the varieties, we were growing the crop, building the equipment, harvesting it. We had to provide or secure all the transportation to get the peppers to the plant. We were scheduling it. Those are all processes that normally a processor would do. We did those for Huey Fong.
So
by 2013, the hot sauce maker's annual revenue reached $85 million. But within a few years, the relationship between Huey Fong and Underwood Ranches began to fall apart.
At the end of 2016, we were pretty sure we had an agreement going forward because we were always planning 3 years ahead. We were securing land, hiring people, building equipment.
But court documents show that in 2016, the Sriracha maker made an agreement with Underwood Ranches to purchase 1,700 acres worth of peppers for $13,000 per acre.
Well, then according to Craig, David Tran reneged on that deal, so he had all these peppers and no one all of a sudden to sell them to.
Tran breached multiple financial agreements, including failure to pay an advance of $18 million. He began the formation of a new company called Chilico. Its goal was to source peppers for Huey Fong from different farmers.
If there's a good year for jalapenos, if we don't have diseases, if we don't lose fields to weather-related conditions, then we may have an overabundance. So I believe that that's what was going on when they decided to look for other supplies that were cheaper than what they were purchasing from Underwood Farms. And I guess they'd hoped that that would continue, but it doesn't.
The jury found that Huey Fong never intended to buy Underwood's 2017 crop supply.
What was a wonderful relationship between this business built by this immigrant and this agricultural family that had been for generations growing food in Southern California turned into a horrible, ugly legal fight.
As these things do, don't they?
The Sriracha maker decided to terminate its relationship with Underwood Ranches long before the end of the 2016 harvest, and even flew a drone over Underwood's crops to share his methodology with other growers.
It was an espionage operation concealed as just, gathering more information for Huey Fong.
The company wrote in an Instagram post on March 28, 2019, that Underwood Ranches, who had made high profits with its relationship with Huey Fong, decided to stop growing chili peppers for Huey Fong without any warning.
In the end, Craig Underwood won a $23 million judgment from a jury that was in Ventura County in his backyard. But he also had to pay David Tran back the $1.5 million that Huey Fong says they overpaid. It was a much bigger win for Underwood Farms. It was a much bigger loss for Huey Fong Foods.
But if they would have just stayed in business together, obviously it's not the farm's fault that happened, but if they would have just stayed in business together, they both would be profiting way more than those numbers at this point. Right?
David Tran appealed. Craig even won on appeal.
Since the verdict, Underwood Ranches started growing a number of crops besides peppers.
We didn't have much to grow on that land, but in the intervening years, we've taken on a lot of contracts. This year we're growing almost 1,000 acres of cannery tomatoes.
With nearly 30 years of industry knowledge, it was only natural for Underwood Ranches to begin making its own, yup, you guessed it, Sriracha.
So this is the first Sriracha that we developed. This was actually the first sauce as well. This is made with the same exact peppers that we grew for Hui Fong for 28 years.
Sriracha isn't a trademark, so Hui Fong can't prevent competitors from creating a similar chili pepper sauce.
You call it Sriracha, but it needs to taste like Sriracha. Basically, the base of Sriracha is you've got your vinegar, you've got your garlic, you got your jalapeno notes to it.
And like Underwood Ranches, there are a variety of other brands that sell Sriracha sauces in stock at most grocery stores. Hot sauce is, after all, a $2.6 billion industry and has grown at an average rate of 2.5% over the past 5 years.
Wow.
Most interesting is whenever there's a story on.
People really wanted their hot sauces during the pandemic. A lot of people are probably putting it in their nose to kill any bacteria.
The internet or on, like, let's say Reddit, our computers basically break down from all the orders coming online. People understanding the relationship of what we had and that we were the original grower.
Since Underwood Ranches
awesome.
has diversified its crop production while simultaneously producing its own hot sauce, it has needed to purchase peppers from external sources to keep up with supply needs.
We've been getting jalapeno peppers out of Mexico for many years. We've had no problem getting peppers.
Jalapenos are a tricky crop to grow, so it really requires some know-how about the best way to establish your stands. So if you have someone who's inexperienced, who's trying to grow jalapenos or other types of peppers.
Growing jalapenos is always one of those things that we never had trouble. Now, I'm talking about just in our backyard, like not as a commercial mass-produced perspective, but we never seem to have trouble with those.
First time, they absolutely could have crop failure when their neighbors are doing great.
The relationship between Underwood and Tran may be irreparable, but consumer demand for Sriracha is only getting bigger. Domestic hot sauce industry revenue is expected to continue growing at an average rate of 1.5%, reaching $2.8 billion in 2028.
The tough thing is that, there really isn't a short-term solution here. Companies and agribusinesses are going to have to rethink how they source their products.
These new grower relations that processors have established come through for them. I do think that they'll be able to do a full pack of the Sriracha sauce this year, and so hopefully this will be the last year of the Sriracha shortage.
While the Sriracha shortage out of Hui Fong Foods clearly stems from a complex web of supply-related issues, consumers are seeing agricultural shocks in the food industry on a more regular basis.
Yes, we are.
As a society, we really have to start investing in science, research, and technology to help mitigate the effects of climate change on our food supply.
It's interesting that they end it with that little note. I'd like to know how much we invest a year now versus 3 years ago in just those things that he mentioned. I know that universities get a ton of money, ton of grant money, and have resources that actually help farmers grow all sorts of different types of crops. So I'd like to see what those numbers actually are, like what the federal government does provide to not only universities, but to farmers directly and to other individual farmers directly. I don't know how else to say that, but wow, what an interesting video. Yeah, I had no idea that the Sriracha was a shortage. I guess I've had the bottle in our fridge for a little while now. I mean, it's not like you go through Sriracha really quickly, but some people may. So, wow. What about you? How many bottles of Sriracha have you been hoarding in your cellar or in your refrigerator since this shortage started 2 years ago? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if you love Sriracha. That's tough to say. Let me know if you love Sriracha. That is quite an interesting video with a lot of different aspects of things going on behind the scenes that maybe we didn't know about. So that's pretty cool. So thank you, CNBC, for creating that video and sharing it with the world. As always, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.